Anxiety. How many of you guys struggle with anxiety? Well, if you're like me and you struggle with anxiety, I know doing things that are uncomfortable can feel pretty scary. But as crazy as this sounds, doing things that are uncomfortable or scary can actually be really good for anxiety. That being said, I'd like to share a few experiences of mine that have taught me this, as well as how it's impacted my life. For starters, I'd like to give you a little background of myself. My parents were very poor growing up, and they weren't the most confident people. So I didn't have a lot of social skills nor social interactions. So the first time I ever remember experiencing anxiety would be when I started school. Going to school was horrible when I first started. I remember when I first showed up at school, I'd run into the bathroom, have a panic attack, prepare myself to face the teachers and all the other students. Eventually, it got better. I made friends. The anxiety wasn't as bad until they wanted to do things outside of school, which leads me to the experience that has taught me that facing your fears can actually be really good for anxiety. So they had invited me to go camping with them. And that was something that was like completely out of my comfort zone because I didn't have a lot of experience with camping. And they also wanted to do cliff jumping. And I'm terrified of heights. So cliff jumping was something that was completely out of my comfort zone, but somehow they still talked me into going and I went. I let them enjoy themselves and I had sat out while they were cliff jumping. And one of my friends had walked up to me and they said, if you run away from your fears or you run towards your fears, they run away. And I'm not sure why, but those simple words really stuck with me and opened my eyes to an entirely new perspective. I got up and stood on the ledge of the rock and I debated for a good 30 minutes if I was going to jump because it took a lot of mental preparation to jump off that rock. But eventually I did it and I faced it. And oh my God, was that one of the best experiences I've ever experienced in my whole life. It was this experience that has changed my whole perspective on how I was going to approach every situation. And it gave me a new outlook on life and a new outlook on anxiety, and it's what made me start questioning why I'm the way I am, why am I afraid of situations that I've never even experienced before, which leads me to how it's impacted my whole life. It was this spark of curiosity that eventually inspired me to major in psychology. Because if it wasn't for the this experience, I don't think that I would have had that spark of curiosity or passion I do now for learning about the brain or understanding the brain and why it works the way it does and why people are the way that they are and think the way that they do. Now that I've told you how I've overcame anxiety and how it's impacted my life, I want you to take away from this experience this. Face your fears, all of them. Because even though it's uncomfortable and it might feel scary in the moment, I promise you the outcome is worth it. Thank you.